What's going on, everyone? Kelly Cavalier here, one half of 7 Era Media, and welcome to today's edition of the Honky Tonk Highway, episode 82. That's right, we're getting up there in numbers, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining me so far on this Thursday. Hope everyone's enjoying their day so far. It's 5 o'clock here in Florida. I know for some of you it's different time zones. I see Megan Barcelia in here. It's only about 2 o'clock there. Mr. O'Reilly is in the chat. It's about 10 p.m. for him. So whatever time it is, hope you guys have enjoyed your day up to this point and you're looking in for a good show. Gary, by the way, if you missed yesterday's, go back and take a listen. I did my nominations for the CBA's live on air, and you got one. So go check that out. Just a couple quick things real quick, guys. Don't forget, like, follow, share, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. That way you never miss out on anything we post or anytime we go live. The YouTube channel is going to be getting updated here in the next day or two. You're going to see some videos and some clips from this past weekend, which is what today's show is all about, the Florida Line Dance Classic 2020. And we're going to have some cool stuff up there. Also, every Tuesday, 2 o'clock UK time, 9 a.m. here in the States on the East Coast, the Honky Tonk Highway hits the Line Dancer Radio. I do the show from 2 to 4 UK time every Tuesday. This week, if you caught it, I played all the music from, well, a lot of the music from this past weekend. So make sure to tune in for that. Also, if you can't watch, take a listen. We are now a podcast as well. Make sure to tune into that. It's on Apple iTunes and Spotify. So today's show, pretty simple. We had a dance event this past weekend, guys. We had an actual in-person, not virtual dance event right here in Orlando, Florida. That's right. JC Dance Productions, Jen and Jason Cameron put on the Florida Line Dance Classic 2020. And let me start off by saying it was a great weekend. For those who missed out, we missed you. It was smaller than normal, but hey, during this time, any live event was great. It was an absolute great time. We're going to go through and break down all the different stuff that's happened. I have my trusty schedule here, don't forget. So we're going to talk about some workshops that's gone on. The show, the competition, the Pro-Am comp, everything. We're going to cover it. Ask your questions. If you have any questions about what happened this past weekend and how everything went and what went on, feel free to ask them. Today's show is going to be all about talking about this amazing weekend we finally got to have. First, in my opinion, the first really big event that we got to have since March. So huge shout out to everyone joining me so far. It was a little bit of Papa's background. I have pops up everywhere. I do have my trusty Loot Llama, my 10-inch one, sitting on the desk behind me, Mr. Jimbo, to keep me company. But, so, let's start off let's go with this. The event. I have to say, I was there right from the get-go. We were there Wednesday putting down the floor, and I was the last one, pretty much the last one to leave with JP and John Robinson finishing out. But the guidelines that Jen Cameron put in place with the hotel were absolutely brilliant. She worked right alongside the hotel, Marriott, the Orlando Marriott Lakeside out by the airport. Did a great job of putting some stuff in place. Jen actually went above and beyond and put different things in place on top of what they put in place. She capped the event and stuff like that. It was a great time. I never felt like I was not safe. Being in Florida throughout this entire thing, I've traveled, I've gone to Disney World. I felt safe. We wore our mask. There were times in the main ballroom and the other ballrooms where the floor was divided. So you had a masked side and an unmasked side. If you chose to not wear your mask, people were socially distanced. We only had probably about 135 people, roughly, if I had to take a rough guess. So it was totally socially distanced. It was totally, you had the choice to wear your mask. You had the choice not to wear your mask. And I don't feel, at least not that anyone came and told me personally or Jen, that they felt unsafe. They did a great job at making sure everyone felt safe to be there for the weekend. The hotel had a bunch of great stuff in place. All common areas you had to be masked up. They didn't have their cleaning crew come in throughout the weekend. They waited till you checked out. So there was stuff like that. Restaurants were only open certain hours. The pool was open because it's a lot bigger, but the hot tub was not. It was drained. But overall, amazing experience. If you haven't read an in-depth review of it, check out JP Potter's, which he wrote a couple days ago, and he did a whole very long in-depth review, and so did John Robinson. But JP hit a lot of the stuff right on the head, right in order. He took away, like he said, we took away a bunch of the hot spots. There was no request list. They made a Google number where you texted in your request, so no one had to go up and share the same pens or touch the same piece of paper or come up to the DJ booth if they didn't want. They could text the number right into JP, which added an extra stress onto him. But I will have to say, and I talked about this a little bit on the show yesterday when I did the my live CBA nominations, that they, for being the fact that we haven't had events since March, and with everything that's been online, he was coming into this event having a tough job, and he did amazing. Trying to balance the schedule, trying to balance all the stuff that's been taught over the past 7 months, the requests, everything. He did amazing. A couple questions coming in. Jim just asked, I'm going to throw this up there. Actually, that was Kelly's. I'm going to add that in a minute. Let's move this up here for people can read it above my head. Did they have the buffet in the restaurant? No, they did not. And they did not do the dinner as a buffet either. Our Saturday night dinner was plated, and we were sat in tables of two people each, and all the instructors were up on stage, socially distanced. So the whole hotel and all did a great job. Kelly also did remind me, yes, we did temperature checks every day. You got a wristband with the day on it, so you didn't go in unless you had your band on. If you didn't have a band that said Friday, you weren't allowed in the ballrooms. You went back to the front desk and got your temperature checked every morning. Same thing with Saturday. We had bands that said Saturday. So it was very thought out. Jen, like I said, did a great job. And yes, Amy, so she saw the video. It was like a dinner panel. Right. So we had all the judges, all the instructors up on stage, and socially distanced apart. There was 10 of them, and then all the tables were done in the main ballroom. The dinner was done in the main ballroom, so it was two for seats of two, so 2 people per table on a 6-foot table. And that's kind of why the show started a little late. We had a little bit extra breakdown time. It took the hotel a little bit of time to get the tables out, which is expected. Not a big deal. No harm, no foul. It was a great time. And I have to take my hat off to the staff. The staff, which changed numerous times. The original staff, we were supposed to have Roy and Fiona, Tim Johnson, Michelle Reesley. Obviously, they couldn't make it due to COVID, the travel restrictions. And then due to other health reasons, Amy Christian and Cody Flowers changed at the last minute. But we still had our staples. Darren Bailey was there, Jamie Marshall, Larry Bass, Chris Gonzalez, John Robinson, Trevor Thornton, and Rachel McEnany White were on the schedule. They were all still there. Rob Holly and Dustin Betts volunteered, stepped in. They were coming for fun, and they taught some classes. And then last minute, literally the week of what I found out, talking to her, Britt Baresic, who you might know from over on the virtual TV with Rob Fowler. She's done some stuff there. She does some stuff out of Texas online. She was coming as a guest, and Jen asked her if she wanted to teach. So literally the week of, she went from being an attendee to an instructor, and she did a phenomenal job stepping in and helping out the staff, and the whole staff was just absolutely amazing. Lots of dancing being done. Very well. They were very well seen down in the ballroom. We had 2 rooms every night. Mary Kay Johnson was supposed to be the second DJ. Obviously, due to COVID reasons, she was not there. And then Christopher Gonzalez stepped in, DJ'd the beginner room, did a phenomenal job. I believe when I went to bed at think it was 3 o'clock into Sunday morning when I finally went to bed. On Sunday, I went to bed. Chris still had 5 or 6 people in there. It was great. It was a great time. Everything was done great. I really can't make many complaints. I really don't have any complaints about the event itself at all. A couple things I was surprised at. There were some great dances taught. Some that we hadn't seen in a while, some that were new. I was actually shocked after looking at the schedule, and I'll go through some of them. The amount of actually newer dances, being the fact that I also do photo and me and Kelly do the photo and video, and I do the videos. Normally at an event like this, come the end of the year, I have a good chunk of the dances being done already videos. So the amount of new videos I have to do are very low. I think I had 2. I think there was only 2 that I actually had that were done beforehand. Checklist by Dustin Betts, and I think more. But all the other dances were released either at the beginning of the year, right, the first beginning, and were done at an event that I hadn't been at yet, because I only had the chance to do 2 events for line dance before the pandemic, and that was Big Bang and a Fort Wayne Dance for All. So if it wasn't done at either one of those 2 events, I didn't have the video. And a lot of it were done during the pandemic. Like you had dances like these are some of them, like Everybody Get Nuts that Jamie ended up teaching, done by Roy, Fiona, and Cody Flowers. You had dances like Keeping Me Alive that Rachel just released. Trevor did Cyber Remix, Shane and Fred's one, which has been done, being danced everywhere, but obviously I haven't been at an event, so we didn't have the video. My favorite dance taught this weekend was probably Feels Like Carolina, and I told him that Darren that when he released it a couple weeks ago, that I knew I was going to love this dance. I love Parmalee, the group that does the song. I love the original. The remake of it from the piano sessions is absolutely phenomenal. So that's going to be a huge hit for Darren. So definitely check that one out, guys. But like Rachel did Do-Si Do, a ton of it. Right. Kelly just said Rachel brought back Strobe Light, but that was so far long ago. That was before I was doing videos. So I definitely didn't have a video of that. That was a classic for Sunday that Rachel brought back Strobe Light. So tons of dance options. Still have the videos available if you want. Send us a message. The digital download will be available soon. You can still order a jump drive or a DVD from us to get a walkthrough of all the dances done, which also included on Sunday, all the USLDCC finalists got together. We wrote a dance via video throughout all this, and we end up teaching. We danced it in the show with the staff on Saturday night, and we taught it on Sunday, and that dance got included on the video as well. So, like Don said, OMG, yes, Feels Like Carolina was amazing. Great, yeah, it's a great song, great Parmalee song. So let's get right into it. The one thing I definitely want to talk about. So, with everything that happened this year, the competition, the USLDCC, was pushed back. Normally, we'd had the finals back in Marathon. Obviously, with Line Dance Showdown getting canceled, we lost some qualifiers there. And then with Marathon getting canceled, the decision was made to push the finals back to the Classic, the end of the year. The new season will not start until July at Fun in the Sun. So, no matter what happens the next first 5 or 6 months of the year, guys, the 2021 season for the USLDCC will not start until Fun in the Sun. So Marathon will not have a qualifier, which it's not it's not a qualifying event anymore. It's only the finals. Showdown, if it happens, will not have a qualifier, and Big Bang's not happening this year anyway. We'll end in Big Bang. So the next event will be Fun in the Sun 2021. That will start the new season of the USLDCC. But Friday at noon, and I broadcasted it live, so if you want to head back over, you can watch the whole competition. It is still up on our YouTube channel, 7 Arrow Media. Was the prelims, the first round of the USLDCC finals. I feel for the judges. I extremely feel for the judges. It was not an easy comp for them to judge. I was involved in it. I had 4 entries, 3 by myself, 1 with my friend Chris Jocks. It was a hard time. I will have to say it was definitely weird, being the fact that we had a 6-month layoff from when we should have been competing, and we didn't have the last qualifier. So in all aspect, like, I hadn't competed since Big Bang. There were people who hadn't competed since Florida Line Dance Classic. So it's been, for some people, it'd been a year since they stepped on the floor for the competition. And, it was a rough time. Like Don just said, I would have hated to be a judge. There were so many amazing dances entered in the finals. It was a great time. The prelims were eventually won by Newcomer Novice was won by Dea Nuno with Midnight Mess Around, which actually was taught, I believe, today. Yes, it was taught today by Darren Bailey on virtual V10. Intermediate Advance was won by Wendy Smith with DeLorean, and Phrase was run by Christopher Jocks with Wait For It. And the 3 of them got told that on Friday night, and then they came back Saturday night at the end of the show, and the 3 of them danced off against each other, and the eventual outcome was Adea Nuno won first and Christopher Jocks won second. So Adea will be getting the teaching spot at World Dance Masters 21. Congratulations to her. The dance has already been taught, like I said, just today by Darren Bailey. First time in the history of the USLDCC, as I say a bunch of C's, that a dance from the Newcomer Novice Division won the overall. This was year 5. The first 4 were won by either Intermediate Advanced or Phrased. Last year was the first Phrased dance that won. This year is the first Newcomer Novice dance that won. Up to that point, the first 3 years won by Intermediate Advanced all the way through. So first time a Newcomer Novice dance won. It was an improver dance. Great dance. Congratulations to her. Amy just said, "You did great, Kelly." Thank you. I had fun. It was a great time. I had 1 in Newcomer Novice. I had 3 in the Intermediate Advanced, 2 by myself, 1 with Chris. And then I chose, and I asked Chris, and he gladly obliged, and he allowed me to dance with him in the finals. So I learned his dance, Wait For It, and danced with him Saturday night. And I have to say, being out there was fun. It's the first time I got to be on the floor in the finals in the 5 years, and it was a great time. Even though the disappointment of it not being for myself, being to be there for one of my closest friends, it was a great feeling. He's going to do great things, guys. For those who don't know who Chris Jocks is, he is the one that choreographed the dance "Shoot My Shot," which won the choreography competition at Windy City Line Dance Mania this past year. So if you haven't seen his finals dance, the show is still up. The prelims are still up. I'm going to be posting individual videos of the finalists this weekend coming up. Was absolutely amazing. His song, it was from Hamilton, was absolutely amazing. Jim just said, "You know what song you should have written to?" I have a feeling you're going to tell me "Body Like a Back Road." It's the song is what you're going to say. What's going on, Mr. Sack? Jonathan Sack joining us on the chat today. Don just said, "Everyone won in my book, just having the courage to dance your creations in front of the industry's best." Thank you. So hopefully we see big things coming from everybody. I think it'll be great. Like I said, the next year, it will not start until Fun of the Sun 2021. So that's how long you have to wait until you see another choreography comp. The Pro-Am comp on Saturday was awesome. For those who don't know what the Pro-Am competition is, Jen and Jason bought the event from Arlene Weinerman when it was the Tampa Bay Classic held in Tampa. And they bought it a couple years ago from Arlene Weinerman. And it was something that she always did. She always had a pro-am competition. A pro-am competition is where you ask an instructor, one of your instructors, whether or not they're a pro choreographer or not. They could be your local class instructor, and ask them to dance in the competition with you. And it can be any dance. It doesn't have to be that person's choreography. You can dance pretty much any dance. The only rule they have is if you can dance as both an amateur and a pro. If you dance as a pro, though, your dance as an amateur has to be at least at the intermediate level. So it gives people out there a chance just to go and dance and get their dancing judged. It's always a great time. When Arlene passed a couple years ago, the Wild Roses took over sponsoring the event, and the event has continued on in honor of Arlene. And the Wild Roses have put it on the last couple years, and it's always a fun time. It was great. Dawn just said the program was amazing too. I love watching that, and honored that when I was asked to dance. Dawn took part as a pro. I was honored. I got asked, and this is I think the fourth time now in the last couple of years I've been asked to judge it. Wendy and Dee Dee asked me on Saturday morning if I would do the honors and be one of the judges. So myself, Rachel McEnany, Dustin Betts, Darren Bailey, and Vicky St. Pierre, who was there just for fun. It was an awesome time seeing her. We judged the competition. Thankfully, all my dance training from UCWDC paid off. I'm able to use it for something a little. It's always fun. I enjoy judging it. I enjoy getting to sit there and give feedback, and I love it too when people come up and ask me what their feedback was. And I had a couple people come up and do that, and I love sitting there talking to them about it. So that was great. But yeah, Amy I miss Vicky. It was fun. Vicky St. Pierre came just for fun. Hadn't seen her in a good time since she transitioned to not coming to dance events so as often anymore, really. So it was good seeing her. And then the show. John Robbins put together a great show. It was included with the instructors and all the competitors of the USLDCC, the finalists. We opened with the number that we had written, adding in the staff, had a snowball fight. Then the staff did a couple numbers, and it ended with all of us back on the floor. Very emotional show. If you missed it, head over and watch it on the YouTube. You will not be disappointed. John Robinson did an amazing job. So, and then Sunday pretty much closed out with a couple review classes, which is always good. I love that more events are doing this. They take one ballroom and they do all repeat classes. I love that. I feel that one class is usually never enough for most people. So having a second class over the weekend is great. Ended with the open dancing, and then we actually did end with Dance the Floor Away. We didn't go live for it. We did it a little bit different this year. It was socially distanced Dance the Floor Away. We didn't get down to the one board. Don't worry, guys. We got down to like 10 boards where everybody, when there's like 5 or 6 people in there, and got down to 10 boards. So we did a socially distanced Dance the Floor Away that me and JP came up with. And then we closed it out. We packed up. Floor came down. DJ equipment came down. John finally finished packing up his booth, which he didn't actually get set up until like 4 o'clock Friday morning anyway. So so we finally got out of there. And then we ended with, like always at every event that all of us are at, we do a family dinner, what we like to call. We usually pick a good Mexican restaurant in Orlando, and over on the East Coast, it's a place called Chewy's. And the people who are left, myself and Kelly, John Robinson, JP Potter, I know Chris Jocks and his girlfriend Caitlin joined us. We go sit down and kind of like a debrief from the whole weekend, get a chance to relax. Then we usually go back to the hotel, hit the hot tub, hit the pool, whatever's available, and sit and relax and just chit chat and catch up, because usually throughout the weekend we don't have time to catch up with each other. So, and normally, like Don just said, we definitely missed Jim at the door. There was a big void there all weekend. And normally my buddy Big Jim goes with us. And like Kelly just said, it's open to anybody. Anybody who's still there on Sunday night, we invite. We've had different instructors. Like Amy Gross said, Amy went one year when her plane got canceled. Michelle Riesling and Laura Croucher, when they were over in Hotlanta from England one year, they came to dinner with us. I know when we're up in the Midwest and Derek Steele and Tiffany come with us. When Chris is with John, Chris comes with us. It's pretty much open to everybody. And we just go and have a nice, relaxing meal. And it pretty much closes out the weekend. So, Jim, you just missed your cannolis. You know that's not true, brother. You know that's not true. Wasn't the cannolis that I missed. Come on. Even though it has been weird not having one all year. I did miss them, but not as much as I missed you, bro. It was weird. It was weird not having you at the door. It was definitely it was weird not looking down the hallway from our booth and not seeing you sitting on your chair. Couple things throughout the weekend that it was odd with some of the changes, but like JP said, this is going to be the new norm. Some of the things we're just going to have to get used to. And that's it. If we want to have dance events again, we're just going to have to get used to it. But overall, amazing weekend. Absolutely amazing weekend. Guys, if you have any questions out there, I know there's tons of you watching. What's up, Britt? Britt just got home. She's joining us. Britt was a great addition this past year. It was an awesome time. She was awesome. Walking around with her polar bear slippers on Saturday night. But like I was just saying, Britt, fun time had by all. It was a great event. I will say, and if you watched the show yesterday, I'm going to bring it up real quick. And guys, like I said, if you have any questions about anything that happened at the event, anything about the event, feel free, ask away in the comments. I'll answer anything. I said yesterday on the show, I'm actually disappointed with members of our line dance community. There was some very negative things said on social media, and it was by people who were not at the event. And I feel that the comments that were made, sure, we can all disagree, guys. We can all make comments. You're entitled to your own opinion. The hateful and rude comments that were made were not needed. There were some very vulgar and rude comments made, and they just weren't needed. Everyone's always talking about we're all in this together. LDF, the reach out, hashtag one world, one dance floor. Now, of all times, is the time when we need to do that. This is the time we all need to stick together. If we want dance events to continue, now's the time where we all need to band together and support each other and support events trying to happen in any way, shape, or form they can. You can ask anybody who was there this weekend, anybody on staff, Britt, JP, Darren, John Robinson. Jen Cameron did a phenomenal job at making sure everybody was safe. Absolutely phenomenal job. Huge shout out to her, because you know what? Who knows when the next one's going to be? Who knows when the next event's going to be? Not every state's as open-minded as Florida. We got not supposed to have any in December. Worlds obviously was already canceled for UCWDC. I doubt the California event in January is going to happen. I know, talking to Jamie and Barney this weekend, they're still waiting to hear about Fort Wayne. That's still a toss-up. Heart of Texas, maybe, but we don't know what's going to happen. And talking to all my friends from Boston, the showdown in the end of March, that's going to be a tough one. Massachusetts is a very tough state. Big Jim just made a great comment, and I'm actually going to post it. Oop. Maybe. There we go. As I hit the wrong button. Let me center this for everyone can see it. Part of it is that someone would wish harm on someone else. I've held my tongue with the event directors that made the comments, but I won't any longer. That was made it a little bit harsher. That some of the people that were making the comments were event directors. And they're people that I thought were a little bit more I considered friends, and like JP said, considered friends. But the hate just needs to stop. And like Don just said, the hatred needs to stop. It's wishing harm on others, or saying that the event director wishes harm on others, is not needed. And it's just what it is. But like I said, we're all supposed to be in we've all been in the mentality to reach out, talk to people. Hashtag one world, one dance floor. Pamela Darby just put January Palm Springs midwinter break is canceled. So the first event that right off the bat, an event in 2021 has been canceled. That was supposed to be, that's usually the first event of the new year line dance wise, and that's already been canceled. So we already know Big Bang wasn't returning. That was nothing to do with COVID. So that was the next one. The next one after that in February, Rachel's already canceled hers. She moved hers to 2022. So the next line dance event we're looking at is possibly Fort Wayne, and Jamie and Barney posted a couple days ago that they are working as closely as they can with the hotels and the Fort Wayne the Grand Wayne Convention Center, and if they can have it at if they can have it at the way it can be at a level that everyone's expect, to way they're not going to lose a lot of money, they're going to have it. But if it's going to be at a way where they can, they're going to lose a lot of money, it's going to get canceled too. After that, you have Heart of Texas. The question is whether or not Heart of Texas. Half of Heart of Texas' staff, if I'm not mistaken, from the flyer release a couple weeks ago, are internationals. We don't even know if international instructors are going to be able to get here by March. We still don't know. We have a ton of internationals on that lineup for Heart of Texas. And then after that, it's a showdown in Boston. And I've talked to many people from Massachusetts that we've all agreed that chances of an event in Massachusetts at the magnitude of what showdown is supposed to be happening is very low. So the question becomes now that Jen stepped up and did this, the question is when we're going to be able to have another one. Because like Palm Springs are, like Pam just said, Palm Springs canceled. The first 3 or 4 events already, and who knows what's going to happen with Heart of Texas. That's a hard one, because even if the state allows it, the question is, does she go on with the staff? Because there's a lot. I believe Jose is on that list. Raymond is on that list. Rhoda Lai is on that list. You have a lot of international instructors. And then Sue Larimer's event in the first week of April, a couple weeks after Showdown, that's all internationals except for what, 2? Daniel, JP, Jose. There's 3 of them right there. The question is whether or not they're going to be able to get over here. There's the 3 right off the bat that I know for a fact are on that list. And the question is whether or not Portland in April will happen, because if you can't get international instructors, like Niels can't travel, I'm pretty sure Niels is still on that list. Whether or not, for events that are very dependent on international instructors, that's going to be very hard at the beginning of the year, I think. But like Jim just said, a large international staff, and he also just said, for those who don't know, Jim Stankiewicz, I refer to as Big Jim. He lives in Massachusetts, and Amy is in Rhode Island. Amy said Massachusetts and Rhode Island are a hot mess, and Jim just says we just took a step back with what's permissible. So, and Amy also says, isn't it Amy and the boys? I know. I think Bracken's the DJ listed on there. I believe Amy Bailey's usually at Portland. But yeah, it's like Niels Poulsen. I know Daniel, Jose, and JP, and I thought there was one more on that list. But if they can't travel, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? And that's what's going to be hard for these events that are very, very highly dependent on international instructors. And that's going to make a lot of them hard, because the traveling is going to be the hard thing. Internationally, at least within the states, you're going to be pretty good, I think. If you don't need to have international instructors. Don just said, even if vaccine comes out, it will be a while before all this will change. I agree, because I know Darren said this earlier to someone, because someone made a post about asking whether or not answer yes or no if you'll take the vaccine. And he said he believes that the vaccine is going to be required for travel. The problem with that is not every country is going to have it available to them at the same time. So you're going to see only certain countries be able to travel at certain times up until it's available to all. And then the question that comes into, there's countries where healthcare is free. We're not one of those. So the question is whether or not the vaccine is going to be a free thing to every American, or whether or not it's going to cost. And that's what's going to come into play, because then the question is the amount of money. We already see how much money drugs cost for stuff like that, for stuff along this line. The question is how much it's going to cost. That's going to be the key play, and that's going to come into play with the travel, whether or not with travel restrictions lifted. I know you can already travel. You just got to quarantine. You're able to make flights. I've looked into it. I've talked to people overseas. I know Canada, you can go in. You just have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and you're not allowed to drive. You have to fly. So it can be done. A lot of it with the Canadians coming here, though, as talk to people, they've been told they will lose health insurance. So their health insurance will be canceled if they travel to the United States. So that's a big reason why even them are choosing to fly. I know you can fly into certain countries right now. The question, you just have to quarantine like for 2 weeks when you get there. I know Hawaii had that rule for a while. You could fly to Hawaii, but you had to quarantine for 2 weeks once you got to Hawaii. So pretty much your trip went from a week to 3 weeks for the most part. So the fact that this event happened this past weekend was a huge step in the right direction, in my opinion. It was a huge step that needed to be done. It was best done the way it was. The limited numbers, the guidelines, the way the dance floor was split, everything among those. I think it was perfectly done. And I think going forward, we're going to see a lot more events either have to run at lower numbers, or events are going to just go bye-bye. I don't see hotels continuing to letting stuff roll over, because they're eventually going to have to start letting people in, because the hotels need to make money. Jim just said the lineup for Sue's event is Jose, Niels, JP Maj, Daniel, and then the Baileys, Darren and Amy. So 2 out of the 6 instructors are able to get there right now. The question is whether or not the other 4 are going to get in. So right now you'd have, out of 6 instructors, you'd have 2. So my big question is this, and this is going to be me, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm kind of curious, all the people who canceled this past weekend, at the Florida Line Dance Classic. How many people canceled because of COVID, and how many people canceled because the international instructors couldn't come? That is my 100% curiosity, because I think a lot more people canceled because of the instructors that were missing and used COVID as the excuse, only because I've seen some of their posts. They're out dancing. They're out going places. They're out doing stuff. They're not living, but they use the excuse. I think that's going to play a part in attendance. I think not having the international instructors on the lineup is going to play a part in the attendance. Amy Gross said, mine was a combination of COVID up here and the personal finance, to be honest. And that's totally great. I 100% agree with you. This has been a tough year on a lot of people. Me being one of them. I make my living going to dance events, floor, video, everything. And Tim Johnson, welcome to the show, Peach. Great teach, by the way, for your classic there, brother. And Don even said, good question. My question is this, for all the people who canceled, how many people out there actually canceled because of COVID or canceled because the 4 international instructors backed out? And then Scott Blevins backed out. So you had five top names, 4 international instructors who draw a crowd, and then Scott Blevins back out of the lineup. How many canceled because of that and not actually because of the virus? And that's a legit question. I'm not trying to call anybody out. I'm legit asking you guys, because if you truly canceled because of your lack of being able to have the people there in person, considering I know how Doug was going to handle this, with Vegas, I had many talks with Doug and Jackie. We were still going to try to stream instructors in, so you'd still have them on the screen, but they wouldn't be there in person. I know we didn't stream any instructors in at the Classic, but my question is, how many people aren't going to come if an international instructor can't be on the lineup here in the States? So I'm curious. Tim just said you may have covered it, but for us in the UK, we're unable to travel to the States right now. Right. Totally get that, Tim. I 100% get that. But the Classic is not an event that's usually attended by a lot of internationals, but we have the international instructors. Every now and again, we get the random that are here already on vacay. It's usually a big U.S. populated event with international instructors and American instructors. Usually the attendance is anywhere between 300 and 400, usually right around that 350 mark. Jen limited it to 200. We had 130. The question is, how many of you guys made that decision not to come based on the lineup? So that's a legit question, because you know what? That could come into play in the next couple months. Because like my question is, I'm sure a lot of you have signed up to go to Heart of Texas in March. How many of you would still go to Heart of Texas if their lineup changed? And I can pull up. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna pull up the lineup, actually. Jim, I was threatened by medical personnel not to attend. I even contemplated doing a Big Bang. For those who don't know what Jim's talking about there, he literally flew in for the competition and left when the finals were at Big Bang. Wesley Kid, I'm in the UK and not danced anywhere since March. I would jump at the chance of Eric Lars, who was there. And Pamela Darby says me, which I know there's going to be tons of people who are still going to go. Let me find the Heart of Texas website or the Facebook page. Here we go. Actually, it's not on there. Let's find their website. I'm curious now. Britt says, I'll be a hot attending, not teaching, but wouldn't miss it. Easy drive for me. Well, of course, yeah, you're right up the road. Hot is in April, Nancy. It's the first weekend. It is in April, or what? I thought, well, actually, no. Did it move to April again this year? Because I thought it was in the middle of March. Either so, if we're not allowed to travel, regardless if it's March or April, they're going to lose half their staff. Elaine, personally, the only reason I canceled going to events was COVID. I want to dance with our dance family so badly. I wouldn't care how many or which instructors were there. Is it this coming year? I think Kelly was thinking of last year's date. It might be. I'm pulling it up now. It might be moved back to April. I know it's flip-flopped a couple times. Pulling up the website now. Let's see. April 22nd to 25th. So it's right. It's the end of April. It's right after. It's a couple weeks after Showdown. But let's see. You have Tina Argyle, which as of right now can't come. Amy Bailey can come. Jose Miguel Black-Vane. I probably just butchered that, Jose. Sorry, brother. He can't come right now. Dustin Betts. He can come. Megan Wheeler-Blevins can come. Scott can come, but the question is whether or not he will. We know he already backed out of the one event, so the question is what's going to happen by then. Joanne Brady, Cody Flowers, Chris Gonzalez, Rodolai right now can't come. Gary O'Reilly can't come. Raymond Salermain can't come. Roy Verdunk can't come. And Rhea Voss can't come. So you have half the staff right now if they can't even get in here. That's why I'm saying events that rely heavily on international instructors is the question right now. And my question is, how many of you, if you had to take every one of those instructors away from Heart of Texas, every one of those instructors, and even if they added or two, like Pam just added, Tina, Jose, Rhoda, Raymond, Gary O, Roy Verdonk, and Rhea Voss. So let's take all of those away. If you had to take all those away, and maybe they're able to add Darren to that list. So you add one more to it. That's really Scott, and let's take away Scott. How many of you would back out due to the lineup, and how many of you would back out due to COVID? Because I feel that more people backed out due to the lineup than COVID. And that's my opinion based on what I've seen on Facebook so far. And I know that's a tough question. I know that's a crazy question. Lisa, you're right. I was thinking of last year's dates because it flip-flopped from April to March to April. But Lisa was there. Lisa was there this weekend. Attending. She was there with the fellow Virginians, Russell and Mandy, the transplant now that lives in Washington, Jen McCoy. Awesome time hanging with you guys like always. Annie just said, my last event was in the south of France in March with Guillaume, Jose, and Darren, and everybody caught the COVID during this week. That was last year, though. So far, we're 4 days after, and Jen has not a single report. Nina says, truly feel for all of you over there with 3,000 deaths a day. The last days, I understand it's a record. I won't get into that, considering we still don't know what numbers are being reported correctly and what are not. So I won't get into the number of deaths. I feel safe going out. I wear my mask. I feel safe. I felt safe at the event. Pam just said, we still have great U.S. instructors, Joe, Amy, Darren, Cody, Joanne, Rachel, although with child. Correct. I'm not saying we don't have great U.S. instructors. That is not my argument. I just worked with 10 phenomenal U.S. instructors. Not saying that one bit. That is not my point at all. I will 100% back the fact that we have great U.S. instructors. But when it comes to attending events, if you look at the trends of what events are attended more, there's ones that are attended more by highly populated with international instructors. If you look at the events that have the more attendees, that's the question. So That's the 100% question. How many of you will still continue to come to events? I feel it's a legit question to ask. I know people. I know people overseas. I know sometimes it's going to be probably a little. Sometimes it's a little easier for you guys once they do open it up for running events, because I know y'all run a lot of smaller events. But over here, unless it's a one-day workshop, a lot of the events are 200 plus or bigger. Pamela just said definitely if folks are wanting international instructors, they'll just have to wait. That's true. But the question is how long are we going to be able to wait? That's my question. The question is how long are events going to have to be able to how long are some of these events going to be able to run at low numbers? Or how many times is the hotel going to let them roll over without saying, you're going to have to find a new hotel, or we're going to hold you to your contract. I know that's happened to a couple people. You're going to be caught to a point where you're going to be held to your hotel contract, and hotels don't care where you get your attendees from. They don't care if you're holding an event, like, so let's say here in Orlando, they don't care if your attendees come from here, Texas, UK, France, whatever. You sign a contract to give them so many room nights. And they don't care where they come from. So the question is, how long is the event's going to be able to run at low capacity numbers that they're not used to, or not at all? And are we going to have events to come back to? So that's the big question I have. And I know a lot of people support line dance. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying, like, I know Pamela, I 100% agree. I think we have tons of great U.S. instructors. The question is, how long will the community support them? And that's my legit question. Because I think Jen would have hit her max number of 200 people if just one of those international instructors were able to make it over. I think some of the people who canceled would have still attended. That's just from what I've seen on Facebook of what people do in their daily lives. Like John Lindsay said, which we had a guest appearance from Mr. John Lindsay this weekend. For those who don't know John, he is the GM of the Roundup in Davie, Florida. Former DJ for the line dance circuit, former line dance competitor in the UCWDC. I've had the privilege of watching him compete before. He made a guest appearance on Sunday, and he was there. He can tell you all the stuff that was safe, and he watched on video on Saturday night, because I know he was on my live feed on Saturday night. But that is the big question. How long are they going to last? How long is stuff this going to last? How long can we continue pushing stuff back? That's an economy question, I know, but that's gonna be the $1 million question. So I hope that the next event that goes off, whatever it may be, is supported tenfold. I hope, regardless of its Jamie Marshall and Barney and Fort Wayne, regardless of its Heart of Texas, regardless if it's the Showdown, as of right now, I'm scheduled to be at 2 or 3 of those. I'm not at Heart of Texas. But if I'm scheduled to be somewhere, I'm going to be there. Nina just said, I guess the restriction will continue as long as the numbers continue to increase. I don't know about the U.S., but here it's monitored very carefully. Here it's done by state and then by county. So we have restrictions along on that. John, The club is running at 60%. How long can it last? Exactly. How long can a club last at 60%? Events I suspect are more subject to happening or not happening due to this. Yep. So Don says, or the vaccine is successful. Successful or not, the first question is going to be is how readily available it's going to be. That's going to be the big one. That's my big question. Because, like I said, healthcare in the U.S. is not free. Do you honestly think the government, I would like to think they would, that you have companies spending billions and billions of dollars to develop this vaccine. Hopefully the government does the right thing and pays for every American to have it. John says 60% revenue, although it's gone down over the last few weeks due to holidays and fear. Right. Exactly. That's going to be the other big thing. You got the holidays coming up where everything tends to be slower anyway. And the question is how many of them are going to survive. So Andy said it was just approved in Michigan, but till it gets out to the general public, who knows? Exactly. We have no idea. That's going to be the big thing. That's going to be the big thing. So Amy just said we have no idea when we'll be able to dance to the Mishnach barn again. Dan and Kelly put so much time and love into all they do, and my heart breaks for them. Yeah, I feel for states like that aren't allowing at least some a little bit at socially distanced, because that would at least bring a little bit of reprieve. Because I know they're still going to the barn every day and videotaping and going live. I know Dan and Kelly do that, so I know they're still using the power and they're still paying the rent on the place. So you still got to pay for it. And that's just how it is right now. Anytime, Don. Take care. It was great seeing you this past weekend. Guys, hopefully you enjoyed the show. Talking about the Florida Line Dance Classic and pretty much dance events in general right now. Hopefully we see you in another event soon. Who knows? Thank you everyone in the chat who asked some great questions. We had some great talks here. No show tomorrow. Have some things to do. We got a photo shoot, so we're going to be doing that. But I'm going to have a full schedule for next week. I got some great topics for next week. We're going to be talking about some great dances of all time. Tim had a great comment here. Hold on. I hold hope for 2021. I still think it will be restricted throughout the year, but with Jen showing a way to run a larger event and the vaccine hopefully starting to take effect, we'll see more freedom. Fingers crossed. Absolutely. Very well put, Mr. Johnson. Couldn't agree with you more. But next week, I'm going to have shows with some special guests. We're going to be talking about some of the best intermediate dances of all time, best improver dances of all time, best advanced dances of all time, leading up to CBA voting. Guys, go out and vote. I showed you how to do it yesterday. Go out and vote. Plain and simple, go out and vote. We're also going to be doing a show I like to call Money versus Views. We see certain people out there posting different website ideas of hosting dancing on it. Even though I don't think they're using the proper licensing, but it's a way they're trying to make instructors a few dollars. The question is, would you rather have a couple bucks, or would you rather have more people seeing your dances? We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to have some guests on to talk about it. So stay tuned for that schedule. We're going to have some fun next week, guys. We're trying to get to the 100 shows. Until Monday, see ya.